Okay, this next one is going to be one of my favorite topics because there's a lot of depth here, and ultimately it feels like most of Web3 is built on top of this. So we're going to be talking about NFT utility. All right, I should probably get in the camera frame. All right, so NFT utility, a lot of depth to it, a lot of possibilities. It gets thrown around. It's a buzzword. It's real. It's fake. What is it? That's what we're going to be talking about today. We've got Yemi, Paul, and Anna on stage with me here. Oh, well, you could see them up there a second ago. With that being said, we're going to kick it off with Yemi. Super excited to be talking with you. This guy is NFT utility as a person, as a brain. So I want you to walk us through some of the more successful ways that you've seen utility done, and ultimately, when people say NFT utility, what it means to you.
So in terms of NFT utility, it is obviously the NFTs and how they give real-world experiences, and not just real-world experiences, and not just the NFT in terms of the art. So depending on what NFTs you have and what kind of NFT you've become involved in, you get different experiences from those NFTs. So the first and biggest example I have is VFRIENDS, which is how Paul and I met. VFRIENDS was an NFT that gave you access to a conference for 3 years. It was created by Gary Vaynerchuk, but not only that, he also included collaborations with other brands and companies, whether that was wine bottles. There was also collaborations in terms of clothing, and there was also collaborations in terms of shoes and other things that he's kind of going through over the years as time continues. So there's that. There's also companies such as wine companies that have created their own kind of service platform whereby you can buy the wine bottles, but it stays on the blockchain, and then when you're ready to redeem it, you can then redeem the wine bottle and get it to your house, which is great because you eliminate the idea of fake wine bottles, because the wine company is legitimate, it's going through a third party which is authenticating it, and then you're also getting the wine bottle and you're saving space in your home.
Perfect. Thank you, Yemi, for kicking us off. So some of the things I'm hearing there are stuff that bend between real-world assets as well as utilizing blockchain technology as kind of that perfect blend. And that's just a couple of examples, but I do encourage people, really dig in when you hear the word utility and try to understand it. So we heard some of the successful examples, right? And you can see, from Yemi, I think, Bored Ape, they've done some pretty cool stuff,
Yep.
Obviously, very successful. You want to speak to that for a second?
I mean, obviously, Bored Ape Yacht Club is one of the biggest examples. Their first one was the merch release. If you didn't have an ape, you couldn't get involved in the merchandise drops. There was different drops, whether it was for the apes or for the mutant apes or for all three, the apes, the dogs, and the mutants. And then also the other big thing was the 2 concerts they had. Their first one was in New York, their second one was in Tokyo, and having the NFT allowed you access to the conference for free and the concerts, and then you were able to bring guests along too.
Yeah, and I think the value there was also just how powerful, that community was, and that's what made it that actually showing up in person was utility, right? So it was an effect of who was in the community. And then I think we have one more here with Stoner Cats, if we do want to kind of touch on this, but then I do want to get over to Paul.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Stoner Cats. They aren't really making more, but they had a 6-episode release, and the idea was that by having the Stoner Cat NFT, you were able to unlock the episodes, and that's the only way you can watch them. You're still able to do that, and that will be up forever. But I think that's interesting because in the future, there could be TV shows that become very successful, and the only way to get access to it is by having the NFT, and that therefore will make the NFT useful in perpetuity, because once you've watched the show, you can either keep it and become a fan, or you can sell it and still make money that way too.
Perfect. So I want to flip the question over at you, Paul, because we've talked about the success stories, but nobody is typically a success right away, right? The industry is built off failure typically. That's what happens. I'd love for you to talk to us about who are those that have failed, what can we learn from them failing, and ultimately, what does that path look like from failure to success?
Yeah, so I think most of them fail for 2 reasons. And one of is lack of brand integration. So if you have an established brand, the brand doesn't really carry it through. Or 2, the sole focus is the utility itself. So when you look at the lack of brand integration, I think a great example is Ticketmaster. Right? I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. I go to the Thanksgiving game each year, and I was so excited 2 years ago when they announced that Ticketmaster was going to release an NFT if you bought a ticket to the game. And I'm like, oh, this will be great. I can collect this with my daughter. We can look back on these and have great memories. I get it dropped in to my wallet. It's this really basic image. It looks like something on clip art that was done. It's not three-dimensional. It's very simple. It doesn't mean anything to me because you can tell they didn't put any effort into it. Ticketmaster doesn't endorse it. Ticketmaster doesn't promote it. The NFL doesn't promote it. I can't transfer it anywhere else in my wallet, and now I'm sitting there with this token, which could have been so much more, but because the brand really wasn't behind it, it really went nowhere. Another example I think of that is Dolce & Gabbana. They came out with a box that you could buy, and then you could redeem it for items. It was about an even trade, I think, in terms of the value. The value of the box was like $1,500, and you got $1,500 worth of product, but Dolce & Gabbana didn't make it cool whatsoever. That's their whole brand, is making things cool, and they never mentioned the NFT in any of its mainstream media. And then when I talk about the sole focus as utility, I think those are the plays that people have went into and said, okay, if you buy this, the whole reason to buy this is you're going to get X, Y, Z at the end. And it's just not scalable over a lifetime, right? So one example of that really prominently was in Miami. There's three young guys developed this NFT called Donut Shop. And the idea was they're going to roll out these donut shops across the country. And as people bought the NFTs, they would get a lifetime donut redemption membership. Well, the donut shop across the country went to one donut shop. Then that was reduced down to a donut van. Then the donut van was reduced down to a donut experience. And I don't even know if they've had the donut experience yet. Because 5,000 donut NFTs generates $1.5 million, which is great. But that's not enough to scale out across the country.
What's a donut experience?
I was going to ask the same question.
We're all still on the edge of our seats waiting. And
So you have that NFT?
luckily, I didn't buy that one.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was following that one, and I thought that was a good example. So I think it's really that balance, right, of something that people intrinsically value and that you're going to add utility to and have that mix where it's kind of the Arnold Palmer, right? Half tea, half lemonade. You're going to need, half of it's going to be brand integration and the coolness and the intrinsic value, and the other half needs to be, actual utility that you're getting. You swirl that around, and I think you've got a winning formula.
Yeah, so 2 pieces off that. And by the way, I know I'm flipping through some slides up here. I believe that most of these are still examples of the positive side. So I know we're going through some stuff, but we're hitting on different topics here. First off, after hearing that, I feel like you can throw experience behind pretty much anything and make it sound quite fascinating. Utility. It's the Red Bull experience. With that being said, is there hope in your eyes for NFT utility?
Yeah, I think so. I think what we should really do is all start small and simple. Like the boring things, like the rewards cards, are kind of what works. So for me, I launched NFT Orlando, which is a much smaller event than this last March. I went around and took pictures of all of the Orlando landmarks, statues, buildings, the Amway Center, all those things, and then airdropped them into attendees' wallets after they attended my conference. And then they got that, and then we connected that with local benefits that linked back to vendors and businesses in the community. And so I think like something like that, we could get downtown Orlando behind and create that type of thing where we celebrate the downtown, our appreciation of it, its landmarks, but at the same time drive commerce into those businesses. I don't know, I think every artist that's independent should be doing their own NFT along with their art. I think we could start small. We could have a NFT art, it could be an art show where we require each of the artists to have at least one piece of art that has an NFT link to it, and then scale that up through the years. Next year it's 2 pieces. The year after that you have to have the majority of your items, and in year 4 you have to have all of your items, digital NFTs. So I think there's things you could do like that. Start small and simple.
Yeah, I like the idea of starting small and simple. I ultimately think that the reason so many people failed was they tried to create this grand vision that they could execute, right? We're going to be the first to make it that when you buy our NFT, you own part of a piece of real estate, and you also get to come there once a year and use it as your getaway, and it's like this, and that. And it's like it just became too much. And the problem was people didn't want to do something that could just be done in Web 2 without Web 3 technology. So they're then trying to extrapolate out, all right, we're going to take this idea, but we have to change it enough so people don't think it's a Web 2 idea. And then we have to add the Web 3 component. Then we have to mint out in order for this to actually become a reality, because if we only sell 25%, we actually can't do any of this. So you see where I'm going.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a total, we need to create so much value in it, and it's not scalable. Yeah.
Sometimes simple things have value. Absolutely. All right, Anna, let me walk it over to you. I know that your business, I believe, does use NFT utility, so maybe you can walk me through your personal experience and how it's benefited you.
Yeah, of course. So just a little bit of backstory. I have a company in education. We do language teaching and workforce development training for tech companies. So we come on board with the tech companies and train their employees to communicate better. I started off, this is just an interesting story, how a complete service business turned into tech business and then turned into blockchain, have a blockchain component. So I started off as a service company, and then we built our in-house e-learning platform to host our online products, online courses. So think of it like Coursera type of thing. So we create our content in-house, so we wanted to have like everything in-house. And then I got into the Web3 space. Living in Miami, it was impossible not to, because 2021, everyone was like, Miami was the epicenter for all of it. And I'm really happy that it happened so, because I come from a non-technical background. Then I trained myself, educated myself to be more techie. And then with the blockchain and Web3, being in the space where you have the community really helps. That's why what you guys are doing with the conference is an amazing thing, because it's an educational component to people who are already in the space, but also to those who want to break into the space. Right, and I was, of course, back in the day, I also wanted to launch an NFT collection, because I'm an influencer on Instagram. I have my community. So of course, I wanted to sell NFTs like a utility. Then I have the community. You can get some like free classes or workshops or webinars and things like that. But then when I started thinking long term, back to what you said, Paul, right? I'm like, I'm gonna promise all these things, and then how am I gonna deliver, right? Like how am I gonna be consistent with this? And there's like so much resource I need to invest into fulfilling on my promises, right? And unfortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, I missed that moment, because then the market went like down, bear market and everything. But I was in this space already, and I started thinking how I can actually leverage blockchain technology to create something that is going to be useful for my company, that is not around hyping, that is not around promises, that is not around art, right? But actually the technology, NFT tech. So we analyzed what we needed, and we decided to build a credentials platform. We built a certificate platform. I mean, we issue certificates to our learners that are blockchain verified. So technically, we use the same, and we use NFT as technology. And now every time you successfully complete one of our programs, we issue a blockchain verified certificate this is completely decentralized. It's on OpenSea. You can share it on LinkedIn. It's credible. It has the name, the course, and etc. Up until that point, we were super non-techy with certification, and people actually started kind of like complaining to me. They would come to me as a founder, and they were like, "Anna, you can't like have that. Like you have to be more techy about it." So I listened to my customer, and we built this blockchain verified platform. And you know what? As a business, I gained more than I thought, because I didn't think that this feature would actually attract clients. So we started signing up more blockchain companies who wanted to take our programs, who wanted us to teach their employees, right, to train their employees. And also the overall image of my company became so much more advanced, I would say, because people were like, "Oh my God, you're an ed tech company, but you have this blockchain component, right?" So people would look at my company differently, because it was a combination of Web 2 and Web 3. So I really like sharing this story to people who are also founders, and they have their companies that might not be leveraging future tech just yet. Really look into the direction of leveraging future tech, because I'm pretty sure it will benefit you even more than you think, because sometimes we think, we use new tech and we use it for a certain reason or goal, or to solve a certain problem, but then it can solve more. So that is why as a founder, I think as a business owner, we should always look into the direction of leveraging future tech, whether it be blockchain or AI, but see how you can solve the problems that you currently might be, or like your business currently might be experiencing with future tech. So that's my story. And like I said, fortunately or unfortunately, I didn't launch an NFT collection, but we did integrate. And it's been 2-3 years now that we've been using our blockchain verified certification platform. And there is another thing. Because I wanted it to be completely Web3, I also had to educate my users on what Web3 is, how to get a MetaMask wallet, a crypto wallet, because my users, not everyone knows about it. Even though I work with the tech audience, not every tech person, like you can be a coder and you could care less about blockchain, for example, right? So I had to educate them. So what we did, we created an extra lesson and included in each of our programs on what Web3 is and how to get a MetaMask. So technically it was part of the curriculum, so they didn't mind that. They actually appreciated the learning opportunity. And then at the end of the course, they already had their MetaMask wallet if they didn't, because that was like part of the assignment. So at the end of the course, by the end of the course, they had like everything, and it wasn't an issue for them to get their certificate because they already have the wallet and they know what it is. So like we also gave people an opportunity to actually kind of touch this blockchain, right? Like really interact with the technology. So that's the story.
That's fantastic, and I like how you emphasize, hey, we didn't even need to launch the collection, right? We had utility, we had a blockchain, we educated people, and we brought them into the picture. That's awesome, Anna. So I've been flipping through, while we've been chatting up here, some of the examples of, I think, some projects that have done great stuff, right? And I just kind of run through it, but people might recognize these, so I'll just kind of go, VFRIENDS, the release that they did, the Flyfish Club, I've seen the 11 hats everywhere, right? There's so many that have actually done pretty well, right? Atom Bomb Squad, I know some of my friends made some life-changing money off some of these, right? And there's so many more examples throughout. So my question over to you, Yemi, would be, it's the million-dollar question, how do we actually find the good ones?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing is I kind of start on Twitter. You obviously see the ones that are kind of blowing up just through interactions that are popping up on my feed. From there, I'll go into those projects, see what's kind of going on, if how many people are involved in it, what the project is actually about, whether it's a legitimate project like Paul has said, are they over-promising the world and, we're going to do this and that and everything and beyond, and then not really, it doesn't seem like it's going to deliver. And then also it's the people behind it. So if it's a big kind of celebrity or somebody that's already made money out in the public, it's important that they don't, create a bad project or come out with a bad project, because that tarnishes their name. So that gives me more belief in the project too. And then it's kind of what they're delivering. So if they're going to say, in the beginning, we're going to start off slow and we're going to work our way up to the bigger thing, then it's kind of, okay, I can kind of trust it. I can put my money into this. But sometimes I'll even wait until the project has been released and then see how well it's doing. Honestly, that's probably the best way to do it, because by waiting, you can see if the project, A, mints out, B, if they're actually going to do what they say they do once they start getting money in, and C, just, kind of get a feel for it based off being in the Discord and seeing what other people are saying. So that's kind of my process for going through it. And then sometimes there's also the art, but I don't necessarily pay attention to the art, because if the project is good enough, the art doesn't really matter.
Boom, words of wisdom. All right, let me throw it back over to you, Paul. We talked about this beforehand. Starting small, starting simple, right? You don't have to, you can shoot for, the sky. You don't have to shoot for the moon right off the bat. So how can people actually get started here? Let's say there's maybe people in the audience that are like, I want to get into Web3. I want to have a project. I want to build NFT utility, but they don't have necessarily, $1 million. How can they start small and simple?
Yeah, so I think the really easy app to use is Nifty Kit that I've used for one of my projects. And so you can create your own NFT, you can upload the artwork, you can airdrop it to people, you can have them mint it either way. But the really cool thing is they have a feature built into Nifty Kit where you can access a wallet connection. So people can connect their wallet and you can verify their token with that, which doesn't sound like any big deal, right? But on that, it will open up a page and you can put whatever you want in that page. So for me, when I did my project with NFT Orlando, I created a form. So when to my holders, I can announce a giveaway and say, here's what we're giving away. or this is a raffle, and everyone that's a token holder will get into this drawing, or however we're going to do it. But it will open up that page, and they can register for that particular opportunity. So it's kind of cool because I can hit the gas pedal as slow or as hard as I want on offering some new utility, and people can just go and connect and do their wallet, and it's really simple. And I don't know what my total cost was, but I think it was under $1,000 to do that.
That's fantastic. So dropping more alpha right here, right? Go check it out with the Nifty Kit. And then we got about 30 seconds left, so I'll throw the last question over to you, Anna. As someone who's been there and done that, what's your one piece of advice to retail investors, to degens out there that are trying to succeed?
That's a really good question, and my answer is be curious about what's happening in the world, because I believe that I also train people on developing power skills, aka soft skills, right? Skills that help us succeed in life. And curiosity is one of the most important power skills that adults underestimate or maybe undervalue, because when you're a child, you are genuinely curious, and that's how you grow up. That's how you learn. And then when you become an adult, you're like, I already know everything, right? And I don't need this, I don't need that. And I think that's a mistake. We have to cultivate that curiosity skill in us, no matter how old we are. And that's what's going to, also bring us to success that we want in life, because the more we're curious, the more we want to learn. And just like what I did for my company, I didn't know anything about Web3, I didn't know anything about blockchain, but I found the community, I found people who already knew things, and I was educating myself. It was really hard, to be honest, because there's a lot of terminology, a lot of everything, but I wanted to grow. I was genuinely curious. So that's my piece of advice. Be curious, and cultivate that childlike curiosity in yourself.
Yeah, I love that. Always be open to opportunity. Thank you so much. Round of applause for our speakers.
We have a question.